Will KSI fight Jake Paul? That's a question that people have been asking for a while. It seems like an on and off, like, yes, they're gonna fight, but no, but yes, but no. And it would be frustrating for people that wanted to see this fight after the Gibb fight. After the Gibb fight, we thought it was KSI versus Jake Paul. But then, KSI was doing his music, and then Jake had like two more other fights. He fought Ben Askren, and then he fought Tyron Woodley, which he won by split decision. So with KSI, it's like he says he wants to fight him, but the thing with KSI is that he's so busy because he's so successful with everything he does with the boxing, with YouTube, with his music career, everything that he has started to, dip his feet in, he has become successful in. Like I've said, everything he touches turns into gold. Like everything for him is working right now. So he has a million things on his head, whereas for Jake Paul, it's more of boxing is his main thing. He's more of a boxer than a YouTuber because he barely uploads. I don't watch his videos, but there was a time where he was uploading every day, and now he's sort of transitioned into boxing, and he has like his personality where people are gonna buy pay-per-view sales regardless. So he doesn't need to like consistently upload and keep his fan base entertained because he's transitioned that into boxing, and his personality is so easy to hate. Where like with the press conference, he came without a shirt on to the press conference against Tyron Woodley. He's just easy to hate, which makes people want to buy to see him lose, and then he ends up winning. So that's always been his game plan in terms of promotion. Whereas for KSI isn't a boxer. He can say he's like a part-time boxer, but he isn't like Jake is putting more time into it. Whereas KSI says he is still training, but Jake Paul is training for actual fights, whereas KSI is training just so that he can stay in shape and not forget what he's been doing for the past 2 or 3 years. So just to for some muscle memory. So KSI is just sharpening the tools little by little, whereas for Jake, he's doing it like it's his life. Like he needs to support his family with boxing. That's why he's doing it. That's how he's fighting and training. So KSI can't be like he's gonna beat Jake Paul. If they fought right now, Jake wins. You would have to assume that, but you can never count out Jake. I mean, you can never count out KSI because even with the Logan fight, Logan was training for a year when KSI was doing music tours. But in the end, KSI won the fight. And however, in Jake Paul's favor, Logan was just training. He wasn't doing other fights because there is something called ring rust. And for Jake, he was training for actual training camps, and he's had like 4 or 5 fights. One amateur fight against Gibb, amateur fight against Deji, and so there's a difference between Logan's training for 1 year while JJ was making music, because I don't think Logan was training like for an actual training camp, whereas Jake is like 2 fights a year, and that's insane for a social media influencer. So that's the issue, the big issue for someone like KSI. He even said it in his boxing tier list. He wasn't in the same level as Jake, and Jake has been smart with picking his opponents, and now his level of skill has increased more than KSI's. And KSI said he needs a tune-up fight, and like even if he does get a tune-up fight, does he still beat Jake? Because Jake will also be fighting. Because Jake's not gonna stay inactive. Jake's gonna have another fight, maybe a rematch against Tyron Woodley, and then go into fighting someone like KSI. And Jake's last fight, he went 8 rounds, and it was the first time he was actually tested. So that is such valuable experience for someone like Jake. Because now if Jake gets clipped, he knows how to react. He's been there before. He's been hurt. He reacted well. He got up quick. That was a knockdown. They didn't count it as a knockdown, but he knows it was a knockdown. Tyron Woodley would have lost the fight regardless. He calls himself the chosen one, but according to the memes, he is now the frozen one because he froze in that fight. So the KSI fight, it's like, how does he stop doing, like, he has to completely throw everything out the window. Like, you can't play boxing like people say, so he can't be doing music and boxing and like training camp while like doing a show of the month before. So he has to remove everything away. But the problem for him is he's so successful that throwing it away for a fight could, have some consequences. Like, he's going upwards and upwards in his music career, and his YouTube, like, I don't. Has there ever been a KSI video that hasn't got a million views? Like, I don't think you could be able to think of one. And his personality and his fan base, that's gonna stay there forever. So he's always gonna get millions of views on YouTube. Whereas for Jake, he doesn't necessarily succeed on YouTube like KSI because of KSI's fan base and his personality. Like, KSI sits on his computer and he'll go on Reddit and he'll get millions of views. And I'm one of the people that watches his videos quite often and all the time because he's just an entertainer. He's just really good at YouTube. He was made for it. Whereas for Jake, if he like posts a video every day for 30 days, a few of those will get like 700,000 views. Whereas for KSI, if he uploads every day, all of them will get above a million views. So for KSI, it's just, he's so successful, and it's like he has to remove everything for the tune-up fight, and then he has to remove everything again for the Jake Paul fight. So like, I'm sure his manager would be telling him like, you don't need this fight check, you don't need the fight with Jake Paul. You, like, come on, you have everything else working for you, and you're making so much money. Why do you need to go fight Jake in terms of a monetary reason to fight? But then for KSI, inside him, he knows that he has to fight Jake Paul. Like, it would feel weird if he didn't. Like, I'm sure he has that burning sensation to fight Jake Paul. So it's like, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And Jake Paul was called out by KSI at one point, and Jake Paul said no. Jake Paul played the smart way and said, no, you can have my big brother. And now Jake Paul is calling out KSI, and now KSI is not going to be able to fight him. So it's like, it was like deja vu. You know what I'm saying? Like, look how the turntables. So the fight, it is going to happen. I believe it's going to happen, because if KSI says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, like, he doesn't, like, his word has a bit of meaning to it. I'm sure he's not just saying it for no reason. There's definitely a meaning to it where he goes like, I am going to fight him. It's just when and the process of how it's going to happen, I'm sure he's unclear of it. We want to see it. That could get around, like, I would say 1.5 to 2 million pay-per-views at like a good price. Not at like $10, like at $25, $30, that could get 1.5 million pay-per-views to 2 million pay-per-views. That's just how it goes, because there's been so much build up for this fight, and it's just like, when are they gonna fight? When are they gonna get each other? So the fight, I believe it will happen, but it might take some time. And if Jake Paul keeps fighting and KSI keeps making music, Jake Paul will be too far ahead to fight KSI, but I'm sure he'll accept it. But KSI would get knocked out if he was making music constantly, and then Jake Paul has like 7-8 fights, all wins, and then fights KSI, and KSI's only had like 2 fights, so that wouldn't make sense. So he needs the preparation, and he needs to remove himself from all the distractions. They aren't really called distractions, because that's what's making him successful, but he needs to remove all of that for a training camp, for a tune-up fight, and then he can go like, you know what, now we'll have Jake Paul, let's do it.